Good morning, fourth graders at Cumberland Elementary School. Today, we are closing in on the end of the city of Ember. We left off and they had found the doors, they had hopped in the boats, they had gone down the river, and they found a path going straight up. And that's where we ended. Chapter 19 was A World of Light. As they squeezed past the rocks at the entrance to the path, Dune thought he saw the candlelight glance off of a shiny place on the wall. He stopped to look, and when he saw what it was, he called out to Lena, who was a few steps ahead of him. Hey, there's a notice, he shouted. It was a framed sign bolted to the stone, a printed sheet behind a piece of glass. Dampness had seeped under the glass and made splotches on the paper, but by holding their candles up close, they could read it. Welcome, refugees from Ember. This is the final stage of your journey. Be prepared for a climb that will take several hours. Fill your bottles with water from the river. We wish you good fortune. The Builders. They're expecting us, said Lena. Well, they wrote that a long time ago, Dune said. The people who put it there must all be dead by now. Oh, that's true, but they wished us good fortune. It makes me feel as if they're watching us. Yes, and maybe their great-great-great-grandchildren will be there to welcome us, Dune said. Encouraged, they started up the path. Their candles made only a feeble glow now, but they could tell that the path was quite wide. The ceiling was high over their heads, and the path seemed to have been made for a great company of people. In some places, the ground beneath their feet was rutted in parallel grooves, as if a wheeled cart of some kind had been driven over it. After they had walked a while, they realized that they were moving in long zigzags. The path would go in one direction for some time and then turn sharply and go in the opposite direction. As they went along, they talked less and less. Their path sloped relentlessly upward, and they needed their breath just for breathing. The only sound was the light of pit-pat of their footsteps. Lena and Dune took turns carrying Poppy on their backs. She had gotten tired of walking very soon and cried to be picked up. Twice they stopped to sit down and rest, leaning against the walls of the passage and taking drinks from Dune's bottle of water. How many hours do you think we've been walking? Lena asked. I don't know, said Dune. Maybe 2, maybe 3. We must nearly be there. They climbed on and on. Their first candles had long ago burned down to the last inch, as had their second candles. Finally, when their third ones were halfway gone, Lena began to notice that the air seemed different. The cold, sharp-edged rock smell of the tunnel was changing to something softer, a strange, lovely smell. As they rounded a corner, a gust of this soft air swept past them and their candles went out. Dune, Lena said, find a match. But no, wait, look. They were not in complete darkness any longer. The faint haze of light shone in the passage ahead of them. It's the lights of a city, said Lena. Lena set Poppy down. Quick, Poppy, she said, and Poppy began to trot, keeping close at Lena's heels. The strange, lovely smell in the air grew stronger, and the passage came to an end a few yards farther along, and before them was an opening like a great empty doorway. Without a word, Lena and Dune took hold of each other's hands, and Lena took hold of Poppy's. When they stood in the doorway and looked out, they saw no new city at all, but something infinitely stranger. A land, vast and spacious beyond any of their dreams, filled with air that seemed to move and lit by a shining silver circle hanging in an immense black sky. In front of their feet, the ground swept away in a long, gentle slope. It was not bare stone as in Ember. Something soft covered it, like silvery hair as high as their knees. Down the slope was a tumble of dark, rounded shapes, and then another slope rose beyond that. Way off into the distance, as far as they could see, the land lay in rolling swells with clumps of shadow in the low places between them. Dune, cried Lena, more lights! She pointed at the sky. He looked up and saw them. Hundreds and hundreds of tiny flecks of light strewn like spilled salt across the blackness. Whoa, he said. There was nothing else to say. The beauty of these lights made his breath stop in his throat. They took a few steps forward. Dune bent to feel the strands that grew out of the ground, almost higher than Poppy's head. They were cool and smooth and soft, and there was a dampness on them. Breathe, said Lena. She opened her mouth and took in a long breath of air. Dune did the same. It's sweet, he said, so full of smells. They held their hands out to feel the long stems as they waded slowly through them. The air moved against their faces and in their hair. Do you hear those sounds? Said Dune. A high, thin, chirping sound came from somewhere nearby. It was repeated over and over like a question. Yes, said Lena. What could that be? Something alive, I think, said Dune. Maybe some kind of a bug. A bug that sings? Lena asked Dune. Her face was shadowy in the silver light. It's so strange here, Dune, and so huge, but I'm not afraid. No, said Dune, I'm not afraid. It feels kind of like a dream. A dream, yes. Maybe that's why it's familiar. I might have dreamed about this place. They walked until they came to where the dark shapes billowed up from the ground. These were plants they discovered taller than they were, with stems as hard and thick as the wall of houses, and leaves that spread out over their heads. On the slope beside the plants, they sat down. Do you think there's a city somewhere? Lena asked. Or people? I don't see any lights, Dune said, even far off. But with this silver lamp in the sky, maybe they don't need lights. Dune shook his head doubtfully. People would need more light than this, he said. How could you see well enough to work? How could you grow your food? It's a beautiful light, but not bright enough to live by. Then what shall we do if there's no city and no people? I don't know. Dune didn't feel like thinking. He was tired of figuring things out. He wanted to look at this new world and take in the scent of it, the feel of it, figure things out later. Lena felt the same way. She stopped asking questions and drew Poppy onto her lap and gazed in silence at the glimmering landscape. After a while, she became aware that something strange was happening. Surely, when she had first sat down, that silver circle was just above the highest branch of that tall plant. Now, the branch cut across it. As she watched, the circle sank very slowly down until it was hidden, except for a gleam of brightness behind the leaves. It's moving, she said to Dune. Yes. A little later, it seemed to her that her eyes were blurring. There was a fuzziness in the sky, especially around the edges. It took a while for her to realize what was making the fuzziness. Dune, light, she said. I see, said Dune. It's getting brighter. The edge of the sky turned gray and then pale orange and then deep fiery crimson. The land stood out against it, a long, black, rolling line. One spot along this line grew so bright they could hardly look at it, so bright it seemed to take a bite out of the land. It rose higher and higher until they could see what it was, and it was a fiery circle, first deep orange and then yellow and too bright to look at any longer. The colors seeped out of the sky and washed over the land. Light sparkled on the soft hair of the hills and shone through the lacy leaves as every shade of green sprang to life around them. They lifted their faces to the astonishing warmth. The sky arched over them higher than they could have imagined, a pale, clear blue. Lena felt as though a lid that had been on her all her life had been lifted off. Light and air rushed through her, making a song like the songs of Ember, only it was a song of joy. She looked at Dune and saw that he was smiling and crying at the same time, and she realized she was crying too. Everything around them was springing to life. A glorious racket came from the branches, tweedling notes, beeps, blurps, high sharp calls. Bugs? Wondered Dune, imagining with awe the bugs that could make such sounds. But then he saw something fly from the cluster of leaves and swoop down low across the ground, making a clear, sweet call as it flew. Did you see that? He said to Lena. Did you see? There's another one. And there, look, over there. There, Poppy repeated, leaping from Lena's lap and whirling around, pointing in every direction. The air was full of them now. They were much too large to be insects. One of them lived nearby on a stem. It looked at them with two bright black eyes and opened its mouth, which was pointed like a thorn. It sent forth a little trilling sound. Dune, Lena said. It's speaking to us. What could it be? Lena shook her head. The little creature shifted its claw-like feet on the stem and flapped its brown wings and trilled again. Then it leaped into the air and was gone. They leaped up, too, and threw themselves into exploration. The ground was alive with insects, so many that Dune just laughed in helpless wonder. Flowers bloomed among the green blades, and a stream ran out the foot of the hill. They roamed over the green-coated slopes, running and sliding, calling out to each other with every new discovery, until they were absolutely exhausted. Then they sat down by the entrance to the path to eat what was left of their food. They untied Dune's bundle, and Lena suddenly cried out. Look! Look, Lena said, the book! We forgot about the book! There it was, wrapped in its blotched green cloth. Let's read it. Let's read what the people said Dune. Lena opened the fragile notebook in front of her. She picked up a carrot with one hand, and with the other she kept her place on the scribbled page. And this is what she read. Chapter 20 is called The Last Message. And we will finish this book up, I don't know, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We have about, 10 pages left. All right, boys and girls, you have a great weekend, and we'll see you back on Monday. Hangouts at 10 o'clock. Then don't forget, by 9 o'clock, I'll be posting all the things that I'd really love for you guys to be working on. Okay? All right. Talk to you later. Bye.